So today we're going to dive into a pretty powerful source that makes some really startling claims about Moscow. We're not talking about the city you see in travel brochures, but a version of Moscow that, according to this material, comes with a very heavy and very hidden price for the people who live there.
And let's just jump right in with the source's own words. Every breath is like a sip of poison. Wow. That's not just some dramatic line. It really sets the stage for what we're about to explore. This intense pressure, both environmental and psychological, that apparently shapes everyday life in Russia's capital.
To really get a handle on these threats, our source introduces us to this guy, Alexei. Now, Alexei isn't a real person. He's more of an archetype, your typical middle-aged Muscovite. And by following his daily routine, we start to see all the hidden dangers the city throws at him, from the very air he breathes to the constant noise he has to live with.
Okay, so the first danger is one you can't even see. We're talking about these things called PM 2.5 particles. They're these microscopic bits of pollution that are so tiny they get deep into your lungs and even into your bloodstream. And our source claims that in downtown Moscow, the concentration often skyrockets to 50 micrograms per cubic meter. To put that in perspective, that is literally double the World Health Organization's safe limit. It's a constant invisible attack on your body.
So what does that actually mean for people living there? Well, this is the crucial point. The source estimates that this pollution alone shaves 2 to 3 years off the average person's life. Think about that. The city isn't just a backdrop for your life. It's an active force that's shortening it.
Now let's switch from what Alexei breathes to what he hears. The source describes this constant, relentless wall of sound. And we're not just talking about annoying traffic. This is a serious health hazard. All that noise keeps your stress hormones jacked up, it raises your blood pressure, and it leads to a 20 to 30% higher risk of a heart attack if you're living in one of the loudest areas.
You know, you might think you could just go home and shut the door to escape it all. But according to our source, these dangers follow you right inside. The argument is that these threats are totally systemic. They're woven into the very things you eat and drink every single day.
Take a look at the kitchen. The source points to everything from vegetables grown in contaminated soil to everyday household cleaners packed with chemicals that can mess with your hormones. But the most alarming claim is about the water. It says that over 70% of Moscow's water systems don't meet full safety standards. That means people are potentially drinking a daily cocktail of chlorine, heavy metals, and microplastics.
So we've covered the physical dangers, but our source paints an equally grim picture of the mental toll of living in Moscow. In a city of over 12 million people, it describes this widespread epidemic, not of a virus, but of pure isolation.
And the numbers the source provides are pretty stark. It states that a staggering 43% of residents say they feel lonely, and 1 in every 5 people is suffering from depression. In this view, this isn't just about feeling down. It's a full-blown public health crisis that's linked to higher risks of suicide and heart disease.
And what's fueling this crisis? The city's relentless, 24/7 pace. The material we're looking at says the average person in Moscow gets less than 6 hours of sleep a night. That kind of chronic exhaustion just grinds you down, turning everyday burnout into actual clinical depression. It's a cycle that's incredibly hard to break.
And this all leads to what the source presents as its most powerful argument, that the heavy burden of living in Moscow isn't shared equally at all. It's a city split into 2 different realities, where your address can literally decide how long you live.
I mean, just look at this contrast. On one side, you have the elite living in green suburbs, breathing clean air, with access to private doctors and organic food. And on the other side, you have the majority living near smog-filled highways, waiting in long lines at state clinics. The result, and this is highlighted by the source, is a jaw-dropping gap in life expectancy, as much as 10 to 15 years.
Let's put that in a global context for a second. Compared to other major capitals mentioned in the source, Moscow is lagging. People in Tokyo and London can expect to live well into their 80s. But the average Muscovite's life is cut shorter, and that's presented as a direct result of all these pressures we've been walking through.
So this brings us to the absolute core question that our source poses. If the data on all of this, the pollution, the noise, the health effects, is so clear and the consequences are so severe, why does it just keep going on year after year?
And the answer, at least according to this source, is as disturbing as the problem itself. It's that the system isn't broken. Not at all. It's functioning exactly as it's intended to, for the benefit of a very small group of people.
And here is the source's final damning verdict. It alleges that these documented health crises are basically ignored because the city is a golden goose, an economic engine that pulls in billions. From this perspective, any so-called green reforms are just for show, while the actual health of the population is treated as an acceptable loss, a disposable resource to fuel the machine.
And we'll end with the source's most haunting line, which translates to Moscow devours its own. It's this image of the city as a predator, one that consumes the health, the years, and the spirit of its own people just to keep itself going. It really leaves you with a final, chilling thought. What's the real price of progress? And who exactly is being forced to pay it?